All right. Welcome everyone to Don't Get Stressed Over Stress. This is a 3-week class, and I might have people popping in here and there. Hopefully they will come in muted and won't interrupt the presentation, the class. I technical difficulties. It wasn't able to stream to the group, even though I am the founder of the group. So I'm not sure why. I'll have to research that a little bit more, and hopefully next week we'll get it streaming live and through Zoom. So if you weren't able to be here live today, don't even worry about it. I'll get things set up. And I know people are at work as well. It's still a work day, even though it's Good Friday. So hopefully some of you guys are off work and playing and not being here live because you're with your families. Whatever the case may be, I hope you're enjoying life and you're able to get the nuggets from this when it works for you. Okay, so today I'm going to start by, I'm going to share my screen. All right, so we're right today we're talking about not stressing out over stress. And the main thing I want to share with this today is the fact that, well, there are a number of things, but I'm going to start with my own story of extreme stress and anxiety and how it changed my life for the better. So I had some dental trauma as a child, and I knew what it was. I didn't know as a child how it would affect me, but I knew as an adult why I had such a hard time going to the dentist. Even talking about the dentist, I would break down and cry. Any scent, like, you know, how you open the door and you smell that, the Novocaine or whatever. Oh, I would immediately seize up my body. I would feel my body seize up, and I would be stressed. My body would be stressed. My mind would be stressed. I would have the breakdown. I do remember one time, and I was an adult, I was probably in my 30s. I went to the dentist just for a cleaning. And the night before I had to go to the dentist, I broke out in hives. My entire body was covered in hives. And that was my body's response to the stress of going to the dentist. Now, when I went to the dentist, years later, so I'm now in my early 40s, and I'm getting rid of all of the silver fillings from when I was a kid. And so they put me under. When I woke up, it was apparent that I had been crying as my face was tear stained, and I'm holding on to the dentist's hand and hugging a pillow. And, you know, when you come out of, I don't know if you've been, but if you get put to sleep, there's a better word for that. When you come out of the anesthesia, you're just a little discombobulated. You've just come off of heavy drugs. So I'm a little confused about where I'm at. And they were very respectful and kind, but looking back, it had to have been pretty amusing. This adult professional woman sobbing, I want my mom who was dead, and I wanted my teddy bear, which is why I was hugging the pillow. When they asked if there was something they could get me, I just wanted my teddy bear. So they gave me the pillow to hold on to, knowing that in my state of mind, that would be good enough. But I knew enough that my teddy bear burned in the fire. So when my daughter went to pick me up, they asked about this traumatic experience of, did lose my mother in the fire, and what about my teddy bear, and how old was I? And she kind of looked at them strange. She's like in her 30s. It was my grandma died from cancer. She didn't die in the fire. So everybody was a little bit confused. I was confused. And to make matters worse, when they took me out to the car, I was in the wheelchair. And when I stood up, I got so dizzy, and I was just overwhelmed with this sadness. And I didn't want to get in the car. The anesthesiologist happened to have a beard like my ex-husband, I don't know who I was with at the time. And so I got, and I just hung on him. I was like, no, I'm not ready. And I'm just cuddling into his chest. Okay. So fast forward, I come fully forward and I'm awake and I'm aware, and people are laughing and telling me what I did. And I was so completely mortified and embarrassed that I would share all of that and have that breakdown in front of people. So that was my first awareness of, like, I don't want this stress to take over my life anymore. I'm not, I don't do well with, what was it? Valium. My one dentist that didn't have laughing gas gave me Valium. He gave me 4 Valium because it just wasn't affecting me. My brain, because I was so afraid, would block the effects of the Valium. I wouldn't feel it until after the dentist appointment. And then I was like high feeling and wake up terribly depressed for the next few days. So I just wouldn't do it. I needed a better way. And that's when I discovered hypnosis through meditation, and went on to become a certified clinical hypnotherapist. And now I help people who were like me. Sometimes you see what the problems are, but you just can't quite get through it. Sometimes you don't even know what the problems are. You just have this hijack of emotion, and you're triggered. But where does the trigger come from? So those are some of the things that we're going to talk about in class over the next 3 weeks, how to have a better response. So today we're going to specifically talk about the 3 different types of stress, how the body reacts under stress, how we can support our body, and how we can also support the mind. Okay, so 3 different types of stress. There's physical stress, there's emotional stress, and there's environmental stress. And this is going to be tricky because I usually, in my classrooms, I usually see all of my people. So what you can do, if you have a question that you don't want to save to the end, go ahead and put in the chat, and I think I'll see the chat pop up. Otherwise, I'll just get through the slides, and then we'll take any questions and when I get out of the slides. Okay, so physical, emotional, and environmental, 3 different types of stress. However, whatever the type of stress that's coming in, your body is going to react the same way. So physical stress, those are things like exercise. You have to move, you have to lift things, sometimes you have to run away from danger. There are other physical stressors like that come from illness, or you break your arm. That's a physical stress that comes into your body. Emotional stress is almost always how we perceive life, how we perceive stress coming, how we perceive even the physical or environmental stresses. And then there's the environmental stress. That's toxicity that we deal with daily. In the air, we have COVID, and some of us have effects from the vaccine. There's regular viruses that were around years before. There's chemicals in our water, chemicals in our food. We have allergens, we have spores, fungus. There's all kinds of environmental or chemical stressors, and your body will respond to these in the same. You're going to have the same type of physical response to these stressors. Okay, so I'm going to share this. Hopefully I can make it bigger. This guy, I absolutely love. He's got these cute little 2-minute videos. Okay, here we go.
2 minutes or less. In this installment, I will discuss the Hpa axis. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, or HPA axis, is best known for its role in our body's reaction to stress. The HPA axis includes a group of hormone-secreting glands from the nervous and endocrine systems: the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands. The hypothalamus is a small neuroendocrine structure situated just above the brainstem that controls the release of hormones from the pituitary gland, a hormone-secreting gland that sits just below the hypothalamus. The pituitary gland can release hormones into the bloodstream to reach a variety of targets. In the case of the HPA axis, hormones released from the pituitary gland travel down to the kidneys and influence the secretion of hormones from endocrine glands called the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys. The primary function of the HPA axis is to regulate the stress response. When we experience something stressful, the hypothalamus releases a hormone called corticotropin releasing hormone, or CRH. CRH signals the pituitary gland to secrete a hormone called adrenocorticotropic hormone, or ACTH, into the bloodstream. ACTH travels down to the adrenal glands, where it prompts the release of a hormone called cortisol from the cortex, or outer layer of the adrenal glands. The release of cortisol causes a number of changes that help the body to deal with stress. For example, it helps to mobilize energy like glucose, so the body has enough energy to cope with a prolonged stressor. When cortisol levels in the blood get high, this is sensed by receptors in areas of the brain like the hypothalamus and hippocampus, which leads to the shutting off of the stress response through what is known as a negative feedback mechanism.
All right. There we are. Okay. Sorry about that. Whoops. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Thumbs up. Okay. All right. So now you know everything about the HPA axis, right? So that was a super short version. But what happens here, what I want you to see and understand is that there's a multitude of things that happen autonomically or automatically in your body when a stressor comes in. Your hypothalamus sees it and detects the stress coming in. That triggers the pituitary, that triggers the adrenals to produce cortisol. Why? Why does it do that? Because when we're moving in, we have the two different states of our autonomic nervous system. We have our rest and digest. That's the part where hopefully you're in right now. You're listening to me, we're having a conversation, you're learning, you're not having to fight, you're not running away from anything. So your body is able to relax and just learn. You might be able to have a snack. If you weren't on camera, you could have sex if you wanted to. There's certain things that we do in a parasympathetic state, our calm state. This is the state we need to be in to sleep. This is the state we also need to be in. Okay, hear this. You have to be in a parasympathetic state for your body to heal. Okay, so when do we not want it? This is the great state to be in. Why would we not want to be in this state? Well, sometimes we need to protect ourselves. So we have these two different automatic states. We have our fight, flight, freeze response, and we have our rest and digest. When there is danger either perceived or legit, your body moves into the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight. That's where we need the extra cortisol to help us produce and utilize more glucose. So why is glucose healthy? Why do we want that in this state? Because we need energy. We need energy to fight. We need energy to long-term run away. We need energy to be alert. So there's a few things that happen all together when we move into this sympathetic fight or flight state. Number one, your eyes will dilate. When you see somebody, have you ever seen a cat and all of a sudden out of nowhere their eyes go and you see their pupils are huge and they start looking around, or they're getting ready to pounce? All of that eye opening is putting them in a state where the energy is going to their extremities and they can pounce, they can fight, they can run away if they need to. And we do the same thing. So our pupils, not as much as a cat, but our pupils will dilate so that we can take in more information. You'll also feel the energy rush to your extremities, your arms, your legs, so that you can fight if you have to. To do that, we need more glucose. So, side note, for people that end up with type 2 diabetes, you can almost always, in fact, 100% of the people that I've talked to that have type 2 diabetes or are on the borderline, if you ask them about their stress levels, they 100% of the time have high stress levels, or they deal with anxiety, or they've had some significant life-changing event that their body just gets stuck in this fight or flight too long. So then you have this uptake of glucose running through your body, but if you're not actually fighting or running to burn off the glucose, now you've got extra sugar running through your body that you're not utilizing, and it messes with that whole glucose response, and you end up with type 2 diabetes. So that's a tangent of why it's so important to be in control of your mind and your body's response to stress. That's just one of the many reasons. So some of the things that happen with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, when we are in the parasympathetic, is when we are we're digesting, so it's safe to eat. And one of the things that will trigger you into, well, we're going to get into this later, so I'm going to hold this, but there are certain times that it's a good idea to eat, and certain times it's not a good idea to eat to help with our digestion. And I'll get in that, all deals with the stress response. But the reason we want to stress eat is because the act of chewing can help move us into a parasympathetic rest and digest state. If you're able to eat, your body signals a healthy system with this HPA axis. It will signal that, oh, I'm safe. I'm safe enough to sit down and eat, so I'm not in danger anymore. I can relax. However, if you're still in that state of angst and then you try to eat before you're calmed down, your digestion isn't working right yet. The energy for your digestion has already gone to your extremities, your arms, your legs, your eyes. So that's how we end up with things like leaky gut, because it's not equipped to take in food. That's a whole other ballgame. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So that's any questions about that system, that response of our stress going in. Okay. All right. So let's go back. So that's how the body reacts under stress. It doesn't matter if it's an actual physical attack, or if it's a scary movie you're watching on TV, or if it's the fact that you just got yelled at by your boss, your mom, your spouse, your friend. Whatever the stress is, your body moves into this system. So now that we understand how your body's going to naturally respond, how can we consciously help or support our body? Because we don't want to stay in that state. We want good sleep. Speaking of sleep, your body, remember the rest and digest, your body repairs while you're sleeping. So think about this for a moment. If you're given a job at work, you have your tasks and you have an 8-hour shift. And one day you go to work and your boss says, oh, hey, I need you to get all this done in 5 hours. You might be able to double down and get it done, but you're not going to do as good a job as you normally would. If that consistently goes day after day, you have the same workload, but you have half or a little more than half the amount of time to get the work done, things are going to fall through the cracks. You're not going to do a good enough job, right? Same thing happens in our body. There's a reason we have that healthy sleep zone between 6 and 8 hours of deep sleep, rested sleep, so that your body can repair. Our body and our brain, we have this drainage system that works automatically while we're sleeping. If you're not getting that good deep sleep, you're not getting the time for the repair. Okay, so what can we do? The 4 A's. If you guys have been with me for a while, you're familiar with these 4 A's. If you're new to my work, I'll just move through them quickly. We have number one, always, is awareness. If you're not aware of the problem or what's going on, you can't do anything about it. So in this case, it would be a stress. Stress comes in, you're aware of the stress. And then you have the acceptance. Fighting against the feeling of stress isn't going to make it go away. It's going to amplify it, make it worse. So accepting it and recognizing it helps you move through to be able to think clearly, to analyze, and then move into adjustment. Okay, what does that look like? Number one, breathe. Breathing is going to be the fastest way to bring you back to homeostasis or back to balance. And not just breathing, but proper breathing. Just making sure. Okay. So we can breathe 2 different ways. I want you to look at my camera for a second. So you can breathe, most likely, think about in your mind where you're at physically when you are introduced to stress. Let's just say it's an emotional stress. Somebody just yelled at you. Okay. So now you're feeling the tension rise and you start breathing faster. Where do you breathe? Most likely your chest, because you're gearing up, you're tightening, and you're ready to fight or run away. So that breathing is fight or flight breathing, our sympathetic nervous system. What we want is to move it down into your gut, your belly. Breathing into the belly and relaxing the shoulders tells your physical body, I'm safe. I'm safe. And you can even say, I'm safe. So breathing, bringing the breath into the belly. And there are lots of exercises where you can do deeper breath work. You can count. You can breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, let go for 4 counts. Now, if you're in the middle of work or something, you're not going to have time to do that, but you can slow your breath. Consciously slow your breath. Next, remove yourself if possible. If you're at work on the line, you're in the middle of stuff, that might not be possible, but you can say, I need a moment of quiet. Let me think through this for a moment. You can pause. But if you can, remove yourself, go to the restroom. If you're a smoker, you can take a smoke break. If you're not a smoker, you can say, I need a smoke break and just go to the restroom so that you can be in a stall, alone and decompress. And that's if it works for you. There are some people that work better with somebody, reaching out to somebody you love, or an animal, pet, to have that human touch. But most of us like in the moment when you're bristling, breathe and give yourself, I used to call them mommy timeout. Just go to the restroom. And there's some other tips in that I'll share in a second. Okay. Assess, bringing your conscious mind into it. You're pulling from the autonomic fight or flight. You want to pull yourself forward into your conscious mind. You can do that by naming it, just naming, okay, this is stress I feel. So there's the awareness. You feel the stress. You start to slow your breath, remove yourself if possible, and then you name it. Yes, this is stress I feel. This is hello, anxiety. I see you here. You're just recognizing and naming it. Is this a physical stressor that I'm feeling? Did I just drop something on my toe? Did I run into the wall? Did I hit, is it physical? Is this emotional? Did somebody yell at me? Or did I just eat something that I know I'm allergic to? Either way, you're going to name it just so that you have that pulling forward of the consciousness. Then you're going to apply your coping tools. We're going to get into more about the coping tools in just a moment, but this is where you move into some coping. This only lasts in the moment. The coping tools, those are band-aids. Longer term, you're going to want to reprogram, most likely. Now, there are some autonomic responses to stress that you want to keep our subconscious mind wants to keep us alive. That's the number one purpose. It pumps our heart. It helps us breathe. There's so many things going, like 60,000, 40,000, some million bits per second that happen automatically in our body that we don't have to think about. That's amazing. They're all there to help us stay alive. So when we have this stress response, it's our body on alert saying, we need to stay alive. What do we need to do? So we want that response if there is an attack, if we have to save a baby, if somebody's running into the road, if there's a fire, we need to save. So we want that. But for the most part in our life today, most of the stress response that we have are just programs of past responses. Does that make sense? So when you were yelled at 5 years old, that feeling in your body and the response to run and hide or fight or whatever it was is coming forward and triggering again and again and again. And now your boss yells at you, or your significant other, or your best friend or something, and you show up the same way as you did when you were little. So that's why eventually we do the coping tools to get us to a safe place and a calm state. But eventually you want to take the time to reprogram your subconscious altogether so that you don't put your body under this stress without reason. And then you get to save that energy for things you want to do, for fun, for exercise, for all kinds of things. So reprogramming gives you more energy. Okay, now some coping some coping tools for stress. These are just a few. There are so many, and some work better than others for each individual person. We're all unique, right? I just put a post on my my Facebook wall, just asking, what do you do? What helps relieve stress when you're under stress? And I got a myriad of things. So these are just a few. Breathing, number one, going back to that breath. Now, some of these are just little hacks that I've learned about over the years. Warmth, depending on whether you run hot or cold. So that's why it's warm or cold water on your hands or face. Most often for women, we run cold. So if you can take a break and go to the restroom and just put your hands in some warm water while you breathe, sing a soothing song, ABCs, or something just to distract you, pull you out of it. But the warm water will help diffuse the body, help calm down the body. If you're in a place where you've just had an incident and you can go take a shower or soak in a hot tub, that will help move your whole body into, and add some Epsom salts too, that will help move your whole body into that safe rest and digest state. Okay, solitude versus affection. This depends on you and how you respond. Some people, when you're bristling, that fight or flight comes in, you're tight, and you're think of a wild animal that's about to attack. You don't want to pet them because they're going to bite. So most of us need that little bit of solitude, even if it's just for 10 seconds to count. Other people aren't going to calm down until they get that human touch. I want a hug from my mom. I want a hug from my significant other. I want to hold my puppy dog or my cat. That's going to give you that calming effect. An anchor, that I can touch on later. This is more for my self-hypnosis courses. We teach about anchors, and we're going to just peek at that in just a few minutes. But basically, you can go in, feel a wonderful positive feeling, and anchor it to your body, like smush your fingers or touch your heart or something that nobody else is going to notice, but it will trigger your body into a calm state. So that's what an anchor is. Affirmations and affirmations. Affirmations, while you're running your hands under the warm water, you can tell yourself over and over again. If you cognitively know that you are in a safe place, but your body's feeling triggered and under stress, then you just remind your mind. You literally talk to your brain. I'm safe. I'm safe with warm water. I'm safe. I'm safe. If you don't have the warm water, havening touch. I'm going to get into that in a couple of seconds. Another one is affirmations. Affirmations are the statements I am. Affirmations are the questions that get your brain to answer why you are what you're wanting. So you can say, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. Or you can ask, in what ways am I safe? How am I safe? And it gets your brain looking around. Oh, well, I'm not in danger. I'm not in physical danger. It's just an emotional, and I can work through that. I can think through this. Even if you are in a physical, I used this when I had a pretty severe car accident, and I felt the adrenaline all through my body. My right leg was numb, my left arm was numb, my face was numb, and I had to bring my breathing down slow. And I just kept looking around and reminding myself, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. Because my body was like, we're gonna die. But it was already over and I was safe. So I had to bring back down. I'm safe, I'm safe. Okay, distraction. This is, remember, a coping tool. This is not a long term. The food I put in here because it does, if you can start eating, even if you chew on ice or a piece of gum or something that doesn't have any sensitivities, like I wouldn't suggest munching on crackers because that's how we end up with gluten sensitivities or wheat sensitivities when you're in that stress state over time, like I was talking about. But just getting the motion of your mouth chewing and salivating will trigger that sympathetic system. If you feel like you're moving into calm with the breathing and the touch or something, then you can have a small snack that reiterates to your brain, I'm safe. Taking a smoking break. Now, I don't suggest you go smoking or start smoking, but for the people that do smoke, think about this. This is very interesting. Smoking actually is a stimulant, but people do it to calm down all the time. Why? Because it takes them away. It's a distraction. It takes them away from the stressful situation and gives them about 5 or 10 minutes to decompress. So it's not really the smoking, but if your employer allows a smoking break, but not other breaks, then you say, I need a smoking break, but you don't go smoke. You can go to the restroom and warm your hands under the water or just walk, do a lap around wherever you're at. TV, jokes, scrolling, any of those things that are distractions. My warning with the distraction, though, is that this is for coping in the moment. This isn't something you want to fall into over and over again. You want to remind your body, okay, I'm calming down now. And then I'm going to take a look at why I was triggered and what I can do to shift that in my mind. Okay. Havening touch, I'm going to show you in just a minute. Weighted blankets, tight jackets. Have you ever noticed women with sweaters or jackets and all of a sudden they start wrapping themselves up tightly, like it's not even cold, but they start wrapping themselves? That's a subconscious action to they want their body, especially your back. If you have something tight against your back, you will feel safer. That's why I suggest when we get into meditations to always have your back up against something. Either you're laying on the floor, you're up against a chair, or even if there's nothing touching your back, you're up against a wall, a distance, so that your subconscious mind, it's always watching for danger, knows I'm safe. Nobody's going to come stab me in the back. Okay, so that's why that works. Music, calming music, or angry music if you have to get the anger out. Tapping, tapping as a whole, you can go online and just Google EFT and get free tapping, or on YouTube you can see tapping videos. But tapping, what it is in short, is you've got these meridians, these Chinese meridians. They're actually for everybody, but the Chinese mapped them out. So there's all of these energy meridians through our body. When we have a trigger, an emotional trigger, we've got that stuck somewhere in our body. We want to release it. So you can literally tap on different areas, and that will break up or disrupt what's going on right now in the moment and help the energy flow for you to be able to release it. Because what the pain is, the stress in itself isn't damaging, or it's not a danger. It's just a natural response. It's our perception of the feeling, our pushing against it, that causes the pain, the massive uncomfortable pain. When I get out of this, I'll show you. Okay, so exercise is excellent at moving through. A lot of women specifically said cleaning, power cleaning, angry cleaning. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. I cannot tell you how many times my house has been cleaner than ever because I knew my mother-in-law was coming over, and the stress hits and all of a sudden I have all of this energy to clean. Or if I'm angry and upset, I'll start cleaning, and you get it out on the dishes and not the people. That's an excellent form of exercise and relief. And then lastly, there's medication and supplements. Some people go right to that, and kind of like the distractions, I'll just say, just be aware of it. If you're using, there's nothing wrong with using medication or supplements, knowing when your body needs some extra help. However, you don't let that be your end result. That's the coping. That's the tools to get you in a state where you can do the better work, the reprogramming. So how do we do some reprogramming so that we're not stressed out over the automatic triggers that come up all the time? Repetition, finding the interrupt and forcing yourself to do it a better way. So for instance, somebody yells at you and your natural response would be to yell back, but you catch yourself and you force yourself to be quiet even though you want to and you feel it inside. So if you do that enough times, you continue the repetition, your brain will remember, oh, this is how we respond, not this way. So you'll be able to reprogram. But it takes a long time. Repetition takes a lot of time. Hypnosis, you can often correct it, find the core and correct it in one session. Self-hypnosis, sometimes there are layers, so, but you can get at it much quicker than with the repetition. Tapping, again, we already talked about that. EMDR is another method that you can use with a practitioner. Rapid eye, I'm not a rapid eye technician, but I've had rapid eye techniques used on me for different things, and they work really well because the eye movement, we store things in different parts of our brain. So you're looking, it's a conjunction. You're using affirmations, you're using the eye movement to trigger, and you're releasing all at the same time. So it's a pretty cool experience. Medication and supplements. Sometimes when you get caught in that loop long enough, your body needs an interrupt. So medication or supplements to help move your body into that homeostasis, that balanced feeling, can be very helpful. Using them in conjunction with other methods to move you forward. Meditations also goes with the hypnosis and self-hypnosis, sometimes you don't have to think at all about what you're meditating about. You just get into that quiet, calm, just getting into that parasympathetic place, state of being, and you allow your mind to be calm. That in and of itself is healing because your body can then do the repair work. And then there are also guided meditations that can help move you into a place where you can do the work and reprogram. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to do a practice right now. So I want you first we're going to get in touch with emotions. So we can see that you are the one that's creating the emotions, not the whatever's causing the stressor. Okay. So first, I want you to just close your eyes and think about something so funny. Like an embarrassing moment, unless embarrassment is bad for you. Embarrassing moment, something that was just amusing, something sweet, kittens falling down the stairs that are safe, whatever it is. Find something that is just going to make you giggle. And then, okay, I see smiles, so that's good. So you're feeling it. Now think about where you're feeling it in your body. I feel it in my chest. I feel it like a pitter patter. Like, oh, that's so cute. Okay, so now I want you to take that feeling, that happy, adorable feeling, and amplify it. Let it grow and just like in your mind say, oh my gosh, that's so cute. That's so fun. I love this. And let it move through your body. Now my legs are a little tingly. My arms are a little tingly. And you can let it flow and you can just keep going with this. Then we have to go the opposite side too. So we're going to come back, open your eyes, but just think about how that was. Nothing literally happened right now. You're just sitting here with me. It's just class. We're just learning about stress, but you created those fun feelings. Okay. So now we're going to think about what one of your biggest stressors are. Okay. So now go ahead and close your eyes and think about that one dang thing that just keeps getting under your skin and wherever else it is in your body. And remembering that you're safe right now, but we're just tapping into the emotional side of that stress. Maybe it's the fact that you're physically keep getting ill because of environmental stressors. Maybe it's that one person that you just don't know how to get along with quite right. Maybe it's that one task at work that you don't know how to do. And so the stress keeps coming up. Whatever it is, think about where you're feeling it in your body right now. It's a much different feeling than you were just feeling. Now it's a feeling of angst and anxiety or worry, or we can put lots of names to it. But now, while you're feeling that feeling, I want you to hold on to that stress. Now I want you to put your hands together like in a prayer position and just start moving them back and forth. And I want you to go ahead and think about that stressful moment, but think about how you would respond if you didn't let stress bother you. If none of it ever bothered you, and with it, now this is the havening touch. So it's just a soft movement for those people that maybe want some connected touch, but you're bristled, so you're like, don't touch me. But this is how you can, in your own, you can even do this under your desk. You can do it very softly. You can just rub your fingers. And if you're alone, if you take that bathroom break, you can even tickle your arms. You can bring that havening touch up to your arms You can wipe down your face. And as you're doing this, you're reminding yourself, I'm safe. I'm safe. So you're talking to your body. Your body has a physical response to what you're mentally experiencing. You want cognitively, so cognitively, and then your imagination, where your amygdala is that hypothalamic pituitary axis, that whole HPA axis. This is your autonomic response, your automatic stuff going on in your subconscious mind. We want to consciously tell your subconscious we're safe. Because remember that HPA axis, there's the return response. If we have more cortisol than we need, that we're using, there should be the return response. However, sometimes our systems get paused. If we are meant, remember how I talked about the doctor gave me Valium and my brain was under so much high alert, I would not let that medicine through. I blocked it. So if you're mentally so scared or worried or whatever about whatever the stressor is, you're blocking that return signal to calm down again. So this is one way to override that block, and you're going to let it respond. We're fine. We're safe. So the havening touch, just tickling, soft. You can also, that feeling that you got when you were giggling, that happy feeling, if you create an anchor, and we're not going to do it now for sake of time, but on your own, create that feeling again, only this time find something to touch. Touch your fingers, squeeze your fingers while you're giggling, while you're feeling that joy and happiness, and say in your mind, this, or you can touch your heart, wherever you is a, so that somebody that might be watching you isn't like, what are you doing? So, because it's a private, a silent anchor. So you can touch your heart, you can touch your fingers, you can hold your hands together and just in your mind say this feeling. And then anytime you're in a stressful situation, you go back to that anchor and in your mind you say this feeling, come back to it. And be careful because you don't want to laugh while somebody's yelling at you because that can make worse. But you get the wash of peace to remind your body, we're safe. I've got this. This is just an adult conversation we're going to have. And of course, if you're in a state where you really are physically in danger, that's a whole other thing. You want to get to safety, get help. If there's abuse, talk to somebody to get out of it. There's always a way out. I'm talking about normal adult everyday stressors, your relationships, your children, your financial stress, all of those stressors that we naturally have, that when you're in a heightened stress state, you're not thinking clearly. Now, the next couple of weeks. So these are just the basics for some tools that you can, in the moment, bring yourself back into balance. Next week, I want to talk about specifically how to watch your children for the signs of stress and how to help them deal with the stressors while they're young, especially you can do it with teenagers as well, but if your child is less than 12, their brain barrier in between the cognitive and subconscious mind is so flexible that it's really easy to program them. So I cannot think of a single client when we do one-on-one sessions that haven't gone back to some kind of program when they were a child. And usually it's not even are the perpetrators, it's most often ourselves. The perceptions that we have as a child that are misconstrued. For instance, I would lay my head on the pillow, and if you're really quiet in the room, you can hear your heartbeat in your ear. And when I was little, I legitimately thought that there were armies marching around the neighborhood, making sure that we were staying in our bed. I don't know when I figured out that that was wrong, but I put myself in a state of panic every night that I've got to go to sleep. And if I yell for my mom, will they hear me? And like how long that my poor little body was in that stress state. And I just didn't talk to anybody. I had ulcers when I was like probably 9 or 10 because I stayed in this state of stress, but I didn't talk about it. There were signs. My mom just didn't, she had her own stress. She didn't notice it. But what I want to talk about next week are how you can notice the signs and keep the dialogue so that you can make sure that your children don't have as many things to unpack as you did or do. So that's what we're going to talk about next week, helping our children and our families and how to respond to loved ones that have high anxiety, stress, what to do, because I don't know if you figured this out already. When somebody's in a panic attack or high stress, saying, calm down, doesn't really work. You notice that? I noticed that myself because when I was in that state, people around me saying calm down was not helpful. So we're going to look at some other alternatives to help us help other people around us. Okay, all of that being said, and besides that, I have posted in the okay. No, I'm going to do a separate video for that. There are guides in our group. In the guides, I've posted a whole lot of content. The meditations are right there, so you don't even have to like go search for them. The one meditation that I would suggest for people that have a lot of automatic stressors, triggers that just keep popping up is do the letting go meditation nightly. Even you don't always have to do the long drawn out self hypnosis to find out what the trigger was and release it or switch it. If you have learned the lesson over time and you just have stored triggers, that meditation is just going to help you to release it, let it go, kind of like a massage. Or if you were, have you ever exercised or done yoga and you start breaking down crying for no reason? That's because you're letting go of triggers. Exercise will move it through. Sex will move it through. The meditation I designed will just help you release it, where you don't even have to worry about it. It doesn't have to be hard. So we're right at the hour mark. Are there any questions at all? And I'm not. I feel so bad I'm not in the Facebook Live because it wouldn't connect. So we'll have to just get other people to respond at the replay. But any questions here? No? Okay, and I know most of you guys that I see have already been through my self-hypnosis course, so thank you for showing up. HPA Axis, I hope you understand that more. The reason that's important to understand your body's natural response is number one, so you don't fight your body. Sometimes we're like, what the heck is wrong with my body? I'd be fine if my body would get in shape and get blah, 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 blah. When we don't realize it's, oh gosh, it's my brain, it's my mind and my thoughts making my body so it's set up for failure. Understanding that natural response, you can now interrupt it and see it and help your body move into a state of calm, knowing that that's where you need to be to repair, to heal. And if you get triggered, no judgment, grace, and you just do the whole thing over again. Okay, well, thanks for joining me today, you guys. And we'll talk next week about how to help our families. And then the last week is how to redesign your brain so that stress is useful. Because there are crazy people that thrive on stress, Remember that autonomic response and your eyes open and the blood vessels, that's designed to give us more energy. So if you see stress as your friend, it will actually help you get the job done quicker and better, more efficiently. So we're going to do that the third week. All right.
Very good, Ricky. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, and have a great Easter weekend, everyone.
You too.
Bye. Bye.